Hello indie warriors and waifu lovers alike, welcome to I Dream of Indie. My name's Old Gamer Joe, bringing you a review today of Wife Quest on the Nintendo Switch. Now, have you ever been jealous, annoyed, or downright angry over someone being overly flirtatious with your partner? I'll admit I was a bit of an emo kid growing up, not so much in the music that I listened to, but when it came to girls. Every time I was rejected or dumped, it felt like the end of the world, yes, in my 16-year-old brain, but hey, rejection's part of life, and I think I'm better for it today. Strangely, there are a few similarities between my personal life and Wife Quest. As the game takes place on a farm, I grew up on one, the farm gets strange visitors, definitely happened to me, but actually I would have welcomed the big-boobied monsters of Wife Quest over the sea of alcoholics and swindlers I was subjected to. However, lead character Maya, not so much. It probably didn't take you much more than looking at the title of this game to understand that the storyline was going to be absolutely ridiculous, and it is as you chase down these monsters through various dungeons, caves, and so on and so on. They will taunt you along the way, make fun of the size of your boobs, the dialogue is ridiculous, but I do have to admit, somewhat amusing in a juvenile sort of way. Wife Quest is also a game that many are going to write off immediately, and I wouldn't necessarily blame you for doing so, but to my surprise, underneath it all, there's a decent 2D action game here. Your gameplay starts out really basic actually. You can jump and swing your sword, that's about it, but you will gain more abilities as you take down more of these monster baddies throughout the different worlds. The platforming in this game is adequate at best, and that never really changes. It gets the job done, but it's certainly not pinpoint perfect. The combat, however, does evolve a little bit. While you can slash your way through the first level no problem, eventually you're going to unlock a shield. This can be used to knock enemy projectiles back towards them, as well as to defend yourself from other dangers. One could make an argument that perhaps the shield is a little bit overpowered, but I personally welcomed it. It seems to more or less block every single attack in the game, but it does have a meter that wears down over time. You'll need to collect crystals in order to keep that meter up, or else your shield's gonna break, and then you're totally screwed. Other abilities that you'll unlock include fairy wings, which will help you to float in the air for a little while longer, and also a power charge-up attack that can knock down walls and unlock some hidden secret treasure chests. In between worlds, you also have a shop that you can visit using coins that you've earned across your adventures. You'll be able to buy hearts, which can increase the overall amount of hits that you can take. You can upgrade your sword to make it stronger, and there's a few other fun unlockables as well here. I have to say that the level design is nothing to write home about here. Some exploration is encouraged, but not a whole lot of it. Again, things do open up a bit when you unlock more abilities, but still kind of straightforward levels. They get a little bland and monotonous after a while. To the game's credit though, there are a few hidden collectibles like musical notes that you can go off the beaten path a bit for and try to find, but overall, these levels really aren't that exciting and they don't evolve much past trying to flip switches to advance to the next section or some very basic platforming, bouncing on mushrooms, that kind of thing. The levels serve the purpose, they do go on for a really long time, and by the end of one, you're glad that it's over, which is probably not what the developer was going for. But the biggest weakness of Wife Quest is in the boss battles themselves. These are really poorly designed and extremely frustrating. You better have all the upgrades you can in order to hope to take these bosses down because you're probably screwed. These bosses have a ridiculous amount of health and their patterns can be pretty unpredictable. They'll get you with lots of cheap hits. It will have you throwing your controller across the room. I had to walk away at one point from the very first boss in the game. Extremely annoying. And then the second boss was equally annoying, only to find that all I had to do was crouch into the left corner, hold my shield up, slash away when I could, and just defeat the boss that way. No skill whatsoever, just pure luck. Come on, we can do better than this. I could live with the ho-hum level design and the somewhat fun combat, but man, when you know there's going to be an obnoxious boss at the end of every single level, you do lose a lot of your incentive to continue playing. Unfortunately, when you're doing a review, or at least doing a proper review, you gotta press on, and so I did. Visually, Wife Quest is pretty easy on the eyes. I enjoyed the pixelated art here, nothing that you haven't seen in a million other indies at this point, but it's well done with decent variety to the backdrops. Again, you'll see these levels for a long time, so the backgrounds will get repetitive after a while, but the artwork is actually quite quite nice and well done. The cutscenes look great, the animations are pretty cool. I liked how your character's eyes would just disappear with anger when she would swing her sword sometimes, or during the animations when you're taking down enemies. You can watch these again in the gallery. There's a pretty decent visual presentation here in general. On that subject though, some of the animations did get a little bit repetitive. I feel like they had a good opportunity here to have some cool death finishers, but they reuse a lot of them. They just switch out the enemy you're doing them to. Still, if you are a fan of the 16-bit era and you like pixel art, this game does a great job. It looks nice. As far as the soundtrack is concerned, I actually really enjoyed the tunes in Wife Quest. Most of these songs are built around one main melody per world, but it's really well done. There's some beautiful orchestration, very heroic sounding. A little bit repetitive, yes, but overall, considering how long the levels are, they didn't get on my nerves too much, and I guess that says something about these musical pieces. Certainly an RPG quality to them, and they fit the game well. Sound effects are actually pretty decent. Special shout out to the squeaky toy noise that the game makes when you jump upon your defeated foes. Even though there is no voice acting, I thought that the overall visual presentation and the audio design worked well to bring these silly characters to life. Wife Quest is not a great game, don't get me wrong, but it's also not as terrible as I was expecting it to be. The level design is merely okay, but some of the combat is actually fun, and I did enjoy the new skills that I learned along the way and how they played into the combat. The boss fights are absolutely atrocious. They might stop players in their tracks. Credit Wife Quest as well for having an unlockable magic mode, which I won't spoil here, but it does add to the replayability of the game if you're looking for more. In terms of Switch performance, no issues really that I came across. I think I felt a little bit of slowdown here or there, but it was barely noticeable, so not a big deal. The game performed really well in either handheld or docked mode, and you would hope so. It's not a visually intensive game in any way whatsoever. Do I recommend Wife Quest to players? Well, it's really not vulgar or offensive in any way like you might be thinking. It's also not all that offensive in terms of what it is. A halfway decent 2D action platformer with some very bad boss fights. That's what it comes down to. Are you willing to put up with some annoyances in order to have a halfway decent time and kill 7 to 10 hours or so? Then maybe check it out. Thank you so much for supporting independent content and watching yet another video from I Dream of Indie. We can't make it without our brave indie warriors and legends. Thank you so much to the indie warriors Bill T, Christian Cruz, Kevalo, Chris Jackson, Adriana Amato, CJR, Julian Colbus, Jesse, CPM, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Doyle, PSC, Carmine Red, King of the Hatch, and Blue Francis 14. At the indie legends tier, we have Jen Rose, Larkison, Mitchell Hall, Eric, Peach, Skepticism, Seacoil, and Nathan Moore. Thank you so much for all that you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Everybody else, please head down to the description box below. There's a lot of ways that you can help us keep the lights on and defeat that echo chamber once and for all.